Francois Bozize, the ousted president of the Central African Republic, has reportedly left Cameroon, where he fled in March after a rebel coalition seized power. Media reports from Cameroon's capital Yaoundé say he boarded a flight to Kenya on Sunday evening and was bound for South Africa. Authorities in the Central African Republic issued an international arrest warrant for Bozize last week. The former leader is accused of kidnapping, murder, crimes against humanity, as well as economic crimes. The 66-year-old Bozize rose to power following a coup in 2003. He went on to win 2 elections that were widely seen as fraudulent. An interim government headed by the Seleka rebel leader Michel Djotodia has pledged to hold elections after an 18-month transition. The Central African Republic's neighbors say they will send 2,000 troops to help restore security in the country, which continues to be dogged by violence. Well, let's cross over to CCTV's Renee Delcam, who's joining us live from Johannesburg. Renee, now Francois Bozize is said to have left Cameroon. Has he arrived yet in South Africa? And do we have any more details about his whereabouts?
Well, as with many reports about the ousted CAR president over the past few months, this report has raised more questions than answers. Yesterday, South Africa was simply refusing to comment. People I spoke to in diplomatic and government circles said they would neither confirm nor deny whether or not Bozize was in South Africa. Today, however, they are saying an emphatic no. I spoke to the head of South African diplomatic relations just a short while ago, and he said, as far as he is concerned, as far as the South African government is concerned, at this stage, Francois Bozize is not in South Africa. They say they don't have knowledge that he is heading this way anytime soon. That is the way things stand in South Africa at this point.
Renee, the government, though, is saying that they are unaware of Bozize's whereabouts, if at all he's headed to South Africa. Now, Bozize has an international arrest warrant issued against him. Is it likely at this point that South Africa will still accommodate him if he heads to South Africa?
Well, I put this question to the relevant officials and they would not comment, saying they would not comment any further on the matter. They said as far as they were concerned, the whole Bozize debacle was a non-issue. They went as far as calling it a bunch of rumors and lies. In fact, one of the top officials I spoke to this morning said that eventually the people who started these lies will get tired of them and they will simply just go away. But at this stage, I cannot tell you any more than that. All I can say is, according to South Africa, the official word is Bozize is not in the country right now.
All right, CCTV's Renee Delcam joining us there from Johannesburg. Thank you. The United Nations Special Envoy to Somalia, Nicholas K., has arrived in Somalia to assume duties as the head of the United Nations Assistance Mission in that country. The former UK Foreign and Commonwealth Director for Africa takes over Augustine Mahiga. The UN Assistance Mission in Somalia is the new UN political mission that spearheads the UN's mandate to support state building and stability. It is also responsible for coordinating international assistance. Kay announced that the UN organizations working for Somalia will now move from neighboring Kenya to the Somali capital, Mogadishu.
It's a privilege for me to assume my duties today as the Secretary General's Special Representative for Somalia. The United Nations Assistance Mission for Somalia, UNSOM, unites the international community in its support for Somalia.
He will settle here in Mogadishu and I believe we will work well together. This is an office that is more influential than the former office of Ambassador Mahiga. This will also be an office that would connect Somalia to the international community.
Well, let's get more on the UN on the African continent and to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where a special United Nations intervention brigade to counter militia groups in the eastern part of the country has started patrols in the conflict zone. According to UN spokesman Martin Lesirke, about 870 soldiers of the expected force of up to 3,500 troops are already in the major eastern city of Goma. The brigade has started operational activities in Goma, including day and night patrols with other UN peacekeepers. The brigade is the first to be authorized by the UN Security Council with an offensive mandate. It was set up after a rebellion in eastern DRC last year by the M23 militia, whose forces remain active on the outskirts of Goma. The United Nations also expects to start using drones in eastern DR Congo to monitor rebel forces and any aid they get across the border. A ruling by Zimbabwe's highest court, which compels President Robert Mugabe to call for elections by July the 31st, has drawn mixed reaction. President Robert Mugabe says he will uphold the rule of law and comply with the court ruling. However, there are questions about the country's readiness for a national election.
Major political protagonists have accepted the ruling. Some ordinary citizens are skeptical about the country's capacity to organize elections within the prescribed time frame. This street vendor says he does not want a repeat of the 2008 polls, which were marred by violence, which could happen again if the necessary reforms are not done.
If we look at the Constitution, it requires that there are 30 days for voter registration and another 1 month for verification. So that's already 2 months. It's a process.
Another 30 days is 2 months. So I think it's a process. If you calculate from that, you can get about 4 to 5 months.
Some business leaders have recently said getting elections out of the way will allow the country to move forward. But those sentiments have also been criticized.
We want things to move on, but we can't have things moving on the wrong way. I don't think that makes sense. We will still have to wait for some time to right the wrongs that have been done so far. So I think just waiting for an extra month or two, rectifying these mistakes, I think we can work it out better than that.
The current government's term of office expires on June 29th. In addition to the concerns about key processes that need to happen ahead of the polls, there is also the issue of funding. Zimbabwe's government already acknowledging it cannot foot the bill for these elections and is currently waiting on appeals to its neighbors in SADC to come to the rescue. Farai Mwakutuya, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
And at 8 minutes past the hour, we'll take a short break here on Africa Live, but still ahead on the program. Upping the ante, Egyptian governments to discuss the impact of Ethiopia's Blue Nile Dam. And we take a closer look at South Africa's wildlife paradise.
Breaking news. Global trends. CCTV News brings you stories with the different aspects of Africa in the international content. With our reporters across Africa and all over the world, we'll tell you about the real Africa and how it impacts the world. Africa Live, every day, only on CCTV News.
The construction of the Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia is still causing a stir in Egypt. There are fears the dam will result in a reduction of Egypt's water supply. And now Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi has summoned his government and leading political forces to discuss Egypt's reaction to this development. Yasser Hakim has the details.
Egyptians woke up to the disturbing news of Ethiopia diverting the Nile a day after the AU summit ended, causing an uproar in the media and public opinion. Egypt's annual share is already below the water poverty levels, barely covering the growing population. Any reduction could cause civil unrest. President Mohamed Morsi and officials constantly reassured the public that Ethiopia will not reduce Egypt's water share, a feeling not shared by most Egyptians.
We are telling the Ethiopians to scale down the size of this dam. And there is a precedent which the Ethiopians have done with the Kenyans when they dammed the Omo River, which led to the lowering of the water in the biggest lake in Kenya, the Turkana, which led ultimately to evacuation of 500,000 people.
A 10-man committee of experts from Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia and neutral states was dispatched to study the effects of the Renaissance Dam on Egypt and Sudan. A report was handed to the president, who gathered political leaders for an open discussion of the report. The feedback to the report's conclusion was mainly negative.
The results are worrying. We encourage all Nile Basin countries to seek development, and we will assist our neighbors in this regard. But we will not accept any reduction in our water share. We will not give up even one drop of our water. We will take all possible actions to ensure this will not happen.
The Joint Committee in its report emphasized the Ethiopian side has not provided the essential documents or information that can help in determining the effects of the dam on Egypt. However, from the data available, the committee made it clear that Egypt and Sudan would suffer from water shortages if the Renaissance Dam was built with the current specifications. The new water levels would also damage the Aswan Dam. In response, political leaders called for action.
There must be Egyptian experts sent to Ethiopia to observe every step of construction and ensure Ethiopia is abiding by our agreements.
We have sent a non-official delegation 2 years ago which succeeded in its mission to delay dam construction. This delegation should go again to try and reach a common agreement with Ethiopia on the way forward.
I think Ethiopia will still go ahead with construction without any regard to our welfare. The military option should be high on our agenda.
Egypt has not yet officially responded to the report. Statements from the presidency, however, requested Ethiopia to stick to its promise to abide by the committee's recommendations. Although the presidency said all options are open to deal with any reduction in the Nile waters, in the meantime, it has preferred to take the diplomatic path rather than to discuss the use of force. This is Yasser Hakim for CCTV, Cairo.
Speaking though recently on the sideline of the 21st African Union Summit, Ethiopian State Minister for Foreign Affairs Berhane Gebre-Christos refuted claims that his country's project to build a dam on a tributary of the Nile River would affect Egypt's share of the Nile waters. Christos explained that in Egypt, the Nile River is formed like a narrow, deep slope, which means that its waters cannot be used for irrigating higher land. Let's head now to South Africa, where considered as a wildlife paradise, South Africa boasts some of the best game viewing opportunities on the continent. And to help preserve the wildlife, conservation initiatives are now being scaled up. Here is CCTV's Travers Andrews with more details.
Whether it's beneath the sea or above the land, South Africa has it all when it comes to an abundance of wildlife and natural beauty. Wildlife reserves around the country offer an ideal opportunity to indulge one's taste when it comes to unbridled animal encounters. However, some wildlife facilities and outreach programs carry a stronger conservational message. And it is this important ecological understanding of the species that potentially holds the most value in ecotourism.
It is very, very important to have facilities like this. We've seen through the ages that one person can make a big difference. If you look at people like Jane Goodall that had a passion for something, you really just need one person that comes in here, that gets motivated by the conservation message, that goes out, that does something incredible.
Here visitors get to interact with a variety of animals commonly found in South Africa, but it is the cheetah that is undoubtedly the star attraction. The country's wildlife is pivotal in economic growth because not only does it provide job creation opportunities, but stimulates the tourism sector too.
Our animals are going to be a very strong livelihood. It's already 8% of our GDP, it provides something like 7% of our jobs, the tourism industry, and people are coming to see the wildlife. They want to see the big five, they want to see the free roaming animals. If we're not taking care of those and we lose them, it is going to have a very bad effect on the economy and on the country. So definitely more awareness and more effort should be put into conserving those animals.
Regarded as a national asset, many visitors believe the country holds unique opportunities in exploring a multitude of wildlife opportunities.
We should capitalize on the myth of lions walking our streets and go, come to Africa and see them. You know, come see the big five, come see the rhino, the cheetah, the elephant, come see them because we have them in abundance.
I've never been that close to an animal like that before, and just being able to pet him, and he was very calm, and it was like petting just a big giant cat. It was great.
For now, these distant relatives of the very animals who roam the plains of Africa will continue to give wildlife enthusiasts a more intimate look into the magnificence of their species. One of South Africa's biggest tourism drawcards is undoubtedly its wildlife. Now, people come here from around the world to get that close-up interaction. And it is at facilities like this one where these animal ambassadors are at the forefront of driving home a strong conservational message. Travis Andrews, CCTV, Cape Town.